Again, this question comes up. Do you want to outline your process? My suggestion is yes, because simplicity is key for participants. If they only have one place to go with all of the answers, that is the best practice, the best method. If you do that, your process has to be very detailed and understandable. They need to be able to look at that and know what is going to happen if they come forward with an allegation. Or if they've been accused of something, they need to know exactly what their rights are and what is going to happen next. They, especially in that situation, an accused immediately starts thinking, I'm going to get fired, I'm going to lose my job, how will I support my family? They need to understand and know that there's a process in place. They are going to have the opportunity to have their side of the story heard, to present evidence on their side, that it is going to be a process that is not only well documented, but it's consistent in every case. So they have this protection of a consistent process that is going to happen before a decision is made. So that is comforting to everyone involved, including the investigator, because they have a set process to follow. When you do this, get input from your investigator, especially if your investigator is trained and experienced. Get their input. Like I said before, they should be on the committee anyway, but get that input. So I was involved with another organization that they were rewriting their conduct policy, and I was assisting, but they didn't want me on the actual committee. So I kind of had one of the representatives on the committee would come back to me and say, okay, this is what we talked about today, and this is what we are deciding. And then I would give my input, my expert opinion on, okay, well, this might not work, or you need to do it this way, or if you stick with this, you're going to have problems, and this is why. So it was good that they were allowing that input, but the problem was I wasn't there in the committee to sound the alarm. So so when that person went back to give my answers, it was someone without the knowledge trying to express the ideas that I expressed. It was kind of like playing the game of telephone. I don't think the message that I was trying to portray really got across to the committee at the level that they needed to. And what ended up happening is they released a policy that has had some issues. And pretty much all of the issues they've had were things that I warned them against, or that I would have been able to had I known that was the direction they were heading, if I'd been sitting at the table. And now they have a list of things that they have to change or include in the next rewrite. They're already planning the next one, even though they just finished the first one, because they didn't get direct input from an experienced investigator. When you're defining the process, you can break it up however you want, whatever makes sense. But the allegation, investigation, outcome are kind of some pretty basic lines you can draw. With the allegation, you need to start at the very beginning. How does someone report misconduct? Who do they report it to? What are the methods that they can use? What are the requirements? Are you going to allow anonymous reporting, or are they required to give you their name? When they come forward, what is the response going to be? Are you suddenly going to announce it to the world that this is happening? Are you going to suddenly put both people on leave? What is the response, so they kind of understand? And then as part of that response, you have an initial assessment. Just because someone comes to you with an allegation doesn't mean it's a violation of your policy. So you have to assess, if what they're telling me is true, would it be a violation of my policy? And if the answer is yes, then you can take action. If the answer is no, then you need to direct them to the appropriate person, who may just be their manager. So that initial assessment happens. And during that time, are you allowing the complainant to decide what happens? Does the complainant get to decide whether or not there is an investigation? Do they have input on that decision? Or are you leaving that up to whoever is in charge of that. So that needs to be outlined. Some people may come in and say, I just want you to know this, but I don't want you to do anything about it. Well, do they have the right to do that under your policy? That needs to be outlined. Is an investigation the only option, or are there other options like mediation or like just an informational report? How do you initiate an investigation? Do you write a formal letter to all the parties saying this is starting on this date? Or do you just say, okay, thanks for the information, we'll get back to you if we need to talk to you? How does that happen? And then how do you decide who is going to investigate? Do you have one investigator that does them all? Do you have a team of investigators that break up according to where it happened or what kind of misconduct it is, or based on their caseload? How does that all work? And you don't have to be so specific that you say, if it's this, then this investigator is investigating. But you can say that the person responsible will look at the allegation and decide the most appropriate investigator and make the assignment, and the investigator will then initiate the investigation, something like that. As far as the investigation phase of the process, that can also be broken up into phases, and probably should be, because that's where the most of the questions are. Think about it. Most people have never been involved in a professional investigation. Maybe they've been involved in a criminal case where they made a report to the police. But an actual workplace misconduct investigation, most people have never been involved in one. So their idea of an investigation is whatever they've seen on TV or in the movies. And that is a far cry from reality, especially for an administrative workplace investigation. There are similarities, though. So you need to go through those and kind of outline those phases of how you're going to get statements from people, how you will identify witnesses, how you will look at evidence, how you will corroborate statements, how you will analyze evidence, how long it should take, what rights do they have during the process, do they have a right to be updated? Are you going to do that every Tuesday afternoon, or do they have to call to get an update? Do they have the right to have a support person present during whenever they're in an interview or something? All of those things you should outline so that they know. And then the outcome. That's the first question. What's going to happen to me? How long, once the investigation is done, how long is it going to take to make that final determination? Who is the decision maker? Is it a committee? Is it one person? Do they have any input? Can they submit a statement? You need to outline that. Is there an appeal process? If there is, what does that look like? Is there a disciplinary matrix that you've published where if they do this, then this is the discipline? Or is it based on a sliding scale of looking at the people involved and the totality of the circumstances and making the decision that seems most appropriate? So all that should be included in your outcome part of the process.